Hey guys, Mr. Surplus Nut bringing another part of this series of videos that I'm making on a request for sighting in a scope or a red dot. And we left off on the one tool that I think is very necessary that I use. I mean, believe me, there's many methods out there of sighting in a scope. I'm just gonna give you guys my input on the one that I use, okay, for the correction guys out there. But anyways, I use this one. It's a laser from Laser Light with the dot, the red dot, and they give you this reflective target where you can even use this. This is basically what I use at 25 yards to start off. You don't want to start, like, even though you see the laser on the paper, you don't want to start off on paper, because once you have this outside on the sun, in the sun, if it's not a reflective material, you won't see it. Okay, so what I do is I start off with this at 25 yards. All right, I make sure that the rifle is in a steady rest, and then you put this piece through the bore of your rifle. You got to make sure everything's steady, and then you turn it on. And obviously you got to play with it a little bit till you start seeing the dot right on the middle of this at 25 yards. Okay, once I get on paper with this laser light tool inserted in the end of the barrel, you know, on the muzzle end of the rifle, what I try to do, I try to start playing with the position of the rifle, how I have it set up on the rest, until this red dot, it's right in the middle, in the center of this circle here. Once I have it like that, then I look through my scope and I start walking my reticle over to where the center dot, red dot, laser dot, it's hitting on that circle. You see there's like a circle here. What I managed to position my rest and my rifle setup on the table, where without touching it, I have this type of setup. Okay, the dot, it's hitting right in the center of the circle. Then I leave it without touching it, and very carefully I start adjusting my elevation and my windage where I can get the reticle into the center of this dot. Once I do that, it's what you called bore sighted. You have bore sighted your weapon, and the proper way of saying it, your scope. Okay, I have the dot right there in the center at 25 yards. Okay, and without touching it, I try to adjust my scope where the center of the reticle, okay, is lined up with that red dot. Now I'm bore sighted in for 25 yards. The old method of doing this, people will go ahead and they will pick an object where you take the bolt on the bolt action gun, you take the bolt out of your action, you look through the barrel, and if you're looking at a specific object, okay, then you bring your scope reticle to that, you know, right at the center of that object, and that should be pretty much close. But this, now with technology, guys, this is, you know, the most advanced way to go, and it saves you a lot of headaches. Again, this little laser light bore sighter comes in, they ship it to you with a bunch of little ends for the laser right here, okay, which according to your caliber you change it out. It's got its own little Allen key wrench, and it's a very good little you know, bore sighter. I haven't had no problems with it. I've had it for years, and I use it all the time for my rifles. Okay, now you have sighted in your rifle at 25 yards with the laser light reflective target, and now your scope, it's center on this in here. Okay, you have your dot right in the middle, and without touching your rifle, doing any radical movement, you brought your scope reticle to the center of this. Now you're bore sighted in at 25 yards. what you do is you go ahead and you put a target like this. You might want to get a bigger paper and you want to put a dot for point of reference, like right in the middle. Obviously I'm using a small paper, but just to give you guys an idea. Okay, so you want to put this at, sometimes I do it at 25 yards because this, believe it or not, sometimes it's a couple of inches off. Or I go about maybe another 30 yards back. And I start taking, you know, making a 3-shot group. And let's say I'm aiming here at the center. And for whatever reason, my groups, they start grouping over here. Okay? Or over here. Or over here. You might be a few inches off, believe it or not. Well, what you do is you want to take like a 3-shot group. And then keeping your reticle in the center of this target here, which is your point of reference. You want to keep the center right in the center here. Like in this case, in the number 10. Okay? Then let's say you shot this group here, a 3-shot group. And it made kind of like a little clover leaf pattern. Well, what you want to do right from here, you either want to go up using your elevation, okay, without making any movement that you're going to misalign your original spot where you had your reticle right in the center of this. You want to start walking up your elevation up, and once you go up more or less to where you can see that you're more or less center with your grouping, then you want to walk it over with your windage, in this case to the right. So you want to move up your reticle, and then once you get to where you can see on your scope that you're pretty much at a parallel level to your grouping, you want to go to your right, and you want to place the center of your reticle on your scope right in the center of the 3 shots, of the 3 holes. That's going to put you right there where you're going to be right on target. And the same goes for a red dot. You want to walk up that dot, okay, to the center of the groups and put it right on the center of the 3. That's why you should always do, when you're sighting in a scope, do a 3-shot group. Because whatever pattern you got out of your 3 holes, you want to line up your reticle right in the middle. Now, remember, as you're walking up your scope, whether you want to start going up to it on your elevation, or you want to from here start sideways and then come up. In this case, there will be 2 ways. You want to start from the middle here, coming out, and then going up. Or from here, from the center, you might want to go up and then go over to it. Whichever way it's easier for you, you need to do that. You need to do that without moving your reticle from the get-go when you start walking it over. Because if you start walking it over and you bump your rest and this came off to the left a little bit, yeah, you're going to end up being pretty close. But whatever you bump, whatever bump you did to it that moved, let's say, an inch over here, now when you walk it to the center, you're going to be, whatever you were off here when you bumped your rest, you're going to be off here. So these are things that you correct in the field after you supposedly adjust it properly. Then you go ahead and you keep on shooting, and if you see that, yeah, you're pretty close but you're like a little bit off, then these are things, those little fine adjustments, you can do it by taking a couple of clicks, depending whether your scope is 1/8 of an inch, you know, on movement, or 1/4 inch. Obviously I like the 1/8 inch because it's more precise. You get more tiny bit of adjustments, real, you know, precise. But so this is the way to go. I mean, this is how the pros do it, man. You know, you start off by putting your reticle right on here in the center of this target, okay, on the center of this target. But you want to make sure that you have a solid rest, that once you start messing with those turrets on the scope and making your adjustment on your elevation and your windage, as you're turning it by hand, you're not you know, moving your whole setup and you're ending up off. That's why you gotta do the movement as you're looking through it to make sure you're staying in the center of this point of reference, which is this big dot here that I'm using for an example. So if you took your groups here and you want to start off by going to the right on your windage, and then once you get more or less in that relative area, go up on your elevation, or if you want to start off from the get-go on your elevation and then move over with your windage over to the three holes you did with that 3-shot group. And then what you want to do, you want to end up having your reticle right in the center of that pattern. Then at the very end, if let's say all this worked out fine without moving your rest or anything, that everything worked beautifully, what I do is after I get this, okay, I go ahead and I take a shot at this dot. And if all those 3 groups go inside this circle here where the number 10 is, and I still want to fine tune it more, I put I set up something like this, but in this case I take one shot, like one little dot, and wherever that hit, I repeat the procedure. I try to walk it up to get that little center reticle right in that one dot, and dude, from there on it's just punching dots. I usually shoot 5-shot groups at 1-inch dots. This is more like a 2-inch, 2.5. My dots will be like the center of this, like the number 10, just a little black circle with the orange outline. And I try to put like about 5 shots into that. And so that's it, guys. I mean, I think I've covered it all. It's very simple. This could be done for an AK-47, for a bolt-action rifle, AR-15, whatever platform you're using. This is your basic method of sighting in a scope at the range. Okay, you start off with some type of bore sighter to get you on paper, how we call it. You know, everybody calls it, you know, to get on paper. And then from there is a matter of having a solid rest that your rifle doesn't move, keeping your reticle in your point of reference, making a 3-shot group at the same distance that you started bore sighting in your weapon, or maybe go back another 10-15 yards, and wherever you hit, take a 3-shot groups. You're going to end up with 3 holes, and it's just a matter of, from having your reticle center, walking it over to the center of that clover, leaf, or whatever pattern you left on that group, and putting your reticle in the center of there. And once from there, it's just minor adjustments. This has been Mr. Surplus Nut. You know, hope this help out this guy that left me the comment. And I'll catch you guys later.